All right, hi DevOps. Let's talk about how to be more productive with IntelliJ. So I have more material than I can do in 30 minutes, so we might go a little Josh mode. You can always watch the recording half speed afterwards. Anyway, so of course an IDE, the I in IDE stands for integrated. So IntelliJ offers integration with tools and frameworks that all professional software developers need, like Spring. I don't know if anyone went to Marco's talk on Spring Debugger yesterday. Cool. If not, you can catch the recording already on the DevOps YouTube. Obviously, we have integration with VCS. We might be able to show some of that, databases, build tools, etc. IntelliJ comes with all of those tools that you need, but also we can configure it if we want to. So I like to add my little icon for my IntelliJ IDEA projects. We can customize the color. I normally go with plum or violet, but the blue goes better with the icon. I'm not here to teach you shortcuts, but I do hope to show you some features that you might not already be familiar with. And I'm going to use the presentation assistant, which is a built-in feature that will show the features that I'm using and the shortcuts for the standard macOS key map and Windows and Linux key maps. If you're using a different one, sorry, you're on your own. In terms of configuration, we can also switch the themes, for example. I am currently using the Islands theme, which is currently in beta, but should land in the next major release. So we can also already get used to it. Obviously, there are other themes. Who prefers dark theme? So that light theme? Okay, some of you. I'm going to very quickly show you that you can, so careful, bright lights. Okay, we're going to switch back to dark mode quickly because the light attracts the bugs. Obviously, there are other themes that you can use, and if that's not enough, then you can also get more themes from the marketplace. Sorry to bring out the bright lights again. So we'll stick with dark theme. Also, what I use it for is, so you can use a different view mode. So we can go to presentation mode, for example, which you would think I use a lot, but actually I don't, because I prefer for my IDE to look the way that it looks for you when you're using it. But I do use also the zoom level. I have it set to 150. Let's see if that works out. Can you see it in the back? Is it okay for you? Thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you for your participation as well. I know it's the end of the day. So I'm not going to teach you the shortcuts, but there is one that I want you to know if you don't know it already, and that's Shift for search everywhere. And we're going to use that quickly to turn off tabs. So you can use search everywhere to search everywhere. So you can find all kinds of features and files, etc. If you want to narrow it down, you can tab to the different tabs. For example, if you want to find actions, all of those have their separate shortcuts too, but you only need to remember Shift, and then you can filter it down if you need to. So right now I have tabs at the top, but I want to turn those off and set it to none. So there's also settings that you can set from search everywhere. So now I no longer have tabs, so I'm saving a little bit of screen estate for my code, or rather my cheat sheet at the moment. We can still open the files from here, but there's of course also a shortcut that we can use. I'm also going to close all the windows. We can use recent files to look for recent files. And if we use that same shortcut twice, then it will select show edited only. So we can go to different files, but we can also use it to look for windows. Some of the windows have their own shortcuts that we can use to open and close them. But also we can search this list and, for example, open the database window where you can set up data connections. I have a demo or I have a database from a different demo running here. So you can check out your database, run stuff there. For example, If you want to go specifically to locations in files, we can go to recent locations, which is a similar shortcut, and that will take us to specific places in our code. And if we use that shortcut twice, then also it will show us the edited only. So we can use that to go places in our code. There are also bookmarks. If we have time at the end, which we won't, I can show you those, or you can watch a different recording of this talk. But let's get to writing some code. I will fold this away. This is our agenda. And then if we need it later, because I can't remember everything. So we're going to write some code. And of course, we will need a main method. And AI can write that for us, if you like you just saw. But there are also live templates. Live templates are basically short commands that will fill out to a bunch of code. And to add a main method, we can use either PSVM for public static void main, although in Java 25, we no longer, Johan is hearing a song in his head, we no longer need public static void main. So for Java 25, this template will actually turn to a static void main. Alternatively, if, now that we no longer need public static void main, we can also type main and use that for our main method. So I'm using Java 25 for this project, which means that we can also use compact source files, so we can even convert this to a compact source file and have it be very, very brief. If we do want args, then either we can use the different template or IntelliJ can autocomplete them for us. So we'll write some fairly trivial code, and I'm just using that as a vehicle to show you some of the features that I want to show you. We will read some lines from a file and print them to the console. We've all done that probably. We want to do so using a buffered reader in my example, so I can start typing and then completion will kick in and find me the buffered reader. I can also type capital BR, which will also find buffered reader and any other classes that have the same capitalization. So we'll use buffered reader. I want to use some of this cloud completion. By the way, if you want to switch the key, you can, but not all of it. So I can accept part of it and then type what I really wanted, which is like so. My file is called lines.txt. Make sure that's correct, text. And now we see that IntelliJ is showing us red squigglies because this code will not compile. Who knows what the shortcut is to fix this? Yes, up front. Option enter or alt enter? Yes, but we might have, you are correct, sir. Please come collect a sticker at our booth. Thank you. We might have multiple errors in our file and we might want to navigate to those. Does anybody know how? Yes, F2. So we can use F2 to go to the next error in the file, or Shift F2 to go to a previous error in the file, and then we can use Alt Enter as suggested to fix that problem. And once we fixed all the errors, we can use that same key to cycle through the warnings. So it will go by severity. So we can replace this with the file name. And now we have still some unused code, which we'll fix later. We will want to store our lines in a collection. We'll go with an array list of strings. No. And then we want to assign that to a variable. I can move my cursor to the start of the line and start typing that variable, or I can use IntelliJ and I can use, for example, a refactoring. There are actually multiple ways to do this, as we will see. So I'm using introduce variable to extract this variable and assign it to a variable. So that opens this template. If I want to change the type, I can use Shift Tab to go to the previous position in this template. If I want to, for example, change the type, which I don't, but just to show you that you can. We can change the name. AI will suggest some names. In this case, not very helpful, but it can be. If you have, for example, a list that contains some sort of data, it will suggest something based on the data that's in there, as I may or may not have time to show you. And then also IntelliJ offers us little hints like this one. So if I press this shortcut, it will show me these options. And now I could use my mouse to click these options if I want to use a var type, for example. But if I press option, which the presentation doesn't show you, but I'm pressing option, and I don't know if you can see that now the F and the V are underlined, which means that if I press the V, it will turn into a var type. So that's one way to do that. And then we need a string line, and we'll want to iterate over them. So while line equals, I always get that one wrong. So we can use regular completion. So if we have a variable and we do dot, we get our API completion right here. So if I'm not familiar with buffered reader, I can go look for the method that I need, which is read line in this case. But if I do know the API for buffered reader, which I do because I've done this demo a few times. So if we type r.r, we can also do reader.readline. Which we will make is equal to null. Now again, we have an error, so we can do F2 to go there and fix it. We will want to add those to our string array, or string array list rather. And in this case, again, I need to finish this with a semicolon because this is Java. But if I type the semicolon right here, IntelliJ is smart enough to know that it should go at the end of the line, so we can do that. Of course, I want to show you that, I don't know if you saw what happened here. I'm using a font that has ligatures. So if I go to font, then I'm using JetBrains Mono font, and I've enabled ligatures, which means that some ASCII characters get converted into these nicer symbols. If you don't want to, you can keep the ASCII. But I rather like that, and who says that backend developers can't have nice things? So this is my one pretty thing that I have in my code. Other than that, it's ugly. Anyway, so I want to make sure that I'm not reading only the lines that are not null, but also the ones that are not blank. Hi, Dimitris. So I want to surround this with an if statement. And if I do it like this, then I don't have to move my code to the front or my cursor to the front and the back and do this manually. And I want to say that if line is not blank, so if I select is blank now, and then I want to negate it, I would have to go to the front and put the exclamation mark there. Instead, if I type an exclamation mark right now, IntelliJ will negate my Boolean statement. So it will add that for me. Of course, I need to close the reader at the end. And then if I want to do something with these strings, for example, I want to array some strings. If I want to assign this to a variable, we've seen that we can extract variable, but we can also use postfix completion, which is a kind of live template that you can apply to something. And you can find those also in completion, but they're usually at the back of the list. So if you go to the end, you can use arrow up and arrow down to go to the start or the end of the list. You can find postfix completion templates. So we'll use var to create a var of type string array, which the inlay hints nicely show us. And I also wanted to show you another kind of completion, which is type safe completion. And I forgot the shortcut for that, so let's look for it, okay? There are no suggestions. Okay, this should give me the args. Maybe if I do it like this. Yes, interesting. So it doesn't give me type matching completion for a var. I just learned. So this will give me the only string array that I have, which is string array args, or the args. If I use that same shortcut twice, it will give me additional options. And then if I use it a third time, it gives me even more options. None of these is what I want. I just wanted to show you that you can. What we want to do instead is we want to iterate over those strings so we can print them to our console. Surely there's a live template for that. So we can use insert live template to see a list of relevant live templates for where we are in the code. Who's learned something new already? Who hasn't? Okay, we're good. You're all going to learn more, though. So we have the live templates. We can search for what we want because the lists are searchable. So we want to iterate over the strings. Yes, we do want to do system out print line, but of course there's a live template for that as well. And as you saw, there are actually several live templates that are related to system out. Let's just add some. But for Java 25, we can use IO print line, right? So we could replace that now, but then I'd have to do that for the other ones as well. So let's instead, if you see there are 3 dots here, which will give you more options, or hang on. You can also, if you want to use your keyboard, which I tend to want to do, use arrow to the right to open that same menu. And then we can say fix all, and it will fix all instances in my file. Alternatively, there is also run inspection by name. So you can run the same inspection over your code for a specific scope that you want to run it on, a file, a directory, your project, if you want. So there's lots of interesting things that you can do with inspections to fix your code. I wanted neither of those. I just wanted to print my strings to the console. So let's run the code and see that it works. We have working code, woohoo. So let's commit that for a second. We can have AI Assistant generate our commit message anyway, fast enough. So we have this code. Okay, we still have the unused args. Let's get rid of those. So now we have code that compiles. There are no errors, no warnings. Are we really happy with it though? You know, with the for loops and everything. I think we can do better. So that was a rhetorical question, yes. Anyway, so let's see if IntelliJ has any more suggestions. For example, to use a stream here and collapse this as well into a stream. It's not doing the same thing it was doing earlier. Anyway, that's fine. This should be a list. Anyway. And then we can join these lines and, sorry, I can't. And then we can, yes, try with resources. Sorry, I only now clicked what you were saying. So if we use try with resources, we no longer need read or close. So we can remove the redundant close. And then also we might want to extract a method here. Why not? Yes. So we want to call that read lines. And then we have a method. So in that method, we are now assigning or creating a variable, assigning it, and then returning it. We can return it inside the try, and that means that we no longer need this return statement or this local variable. So now we can still run our code, hopefully, but it looks a lot more concise and also easier to read. Do you agree? Yes. Okay. Thumbs up. Thank you. Cool. Let's commit this code again, just because we can. And then we have some more refactoring that we could do. So we can extract parameters as well. We've seen extract variable or extract method. We can extract a parameter just to show you that you can. Now, because I started at the back, I have the suffix and then the file name. I might want them the other way around, and I can move elements around. But if I do that, then the arguments are changed, but the call site is not updated. So IntelliJ will helpfully suggest to change the signature. And we can click either that, or we can use Alt-Enter to change the signature. And now we see that both the arguments and the call site are updated. So now it matches again the way we want it. If IntelliJ doesn't suggest the refactoring that you need, you can also pull up a list of refactorings that might be relevant to where you are, which will show you the most used relevant refactoring. So that also includes the change signature refactoring. In this case, of course, we don't actually need the parameters, so we can inline them again, either using Alt-Enter or using the refactoring for inline. And then we can also change this back to a regular string. The most used refactoring, of course, is refactor rename or Shift F6. So we're going to quickly make this just a little bit shorter because I want to add some more filters to this. Obviously, I want to change them. So I want to say if it starts with a certain letter. Now I want to select starts with, but if I press enter now, it's going to insert that and keep what's already there. Instead, if I use tab, it's going to overwrite it. So I want to say it should start with an A and the now you know how. So I heard someone, I know this is possible, but I can't tell how, I always forget how. So watch the recording. So see, I was supposed to, you distracted me. I was supposed to press tab on that so that it replaces what is already there and say longer than 3. So now if we run our code, it filters out everything except for the things that match. So we have working code still, but if our code doesn't work and we want to run it through the debugger, we can add a breakpoint and run our code in debug mode. Debug. And then we can see the values of our variables and we can run over it, etc. But this doesn't really help me visualize what's going on in this stream. So instead, let me run debug mode again. So we can start from the top. And we can use, so I clicked, because someone is going to ask me afterwards, I click more here, and then trace current stream chain, which will show me first all of the lines that we read from the file, and then all of the filters and the collect at the end. And if we hover over the filters, we can see what they do. So this one filters all of the ones that are blank, as we can see. The next one starts with A, will filter out the one that starts with an A. And then finally, this one will filter the ones that are not more than 3 characters. So we end up with our final result, which will be collected in an array list. This is, in my opinion, a better way to visualize what is going on. If you want to, you can also use flat mode if you have one of those super fancy monitors like the other developer in my house does. But I actually prefer this because I can go step by step. So there is way more that you can do with debugger. I created a video on our YouTube channel. Please go and watch that, like and subscribe. Thanks. I unfortunately don't have time to show you everything right now. What I do want to show you, let me get rid of the breakpoint, is we can, of course, select all of the occurrences and move them one under another. There is also a setting if you want to always put all of the change methods on a separate line. But this makes it easier to read, and now we can add other stuff like create a new user, which could be a method reference, and then to string it again so it compiles. We can pull up information like using QuickDoc. In this case, this class doesn't have documentation. Let's quickly fix that. Write documentation. So we can add some documentation, which of course we can also use Markdown for. So now if we go back to where we're calling this user, we can pull up the documentation and it will show us the documentation. If we prefer to show the class, we can do quick definition. So we can pull up information that we need without having to navigate everywhere and get lost in a big project. So that's what I wanted to show you here. If we go to user, then we have some regex. Who likes regex? That's more of you than I expected. So for the rest of us, I'm just going to remind you quickly, that the plural of regex is regrets. But if you do have to work with regex, first of all, we can insert language and say regex. There are different flavors of regex even, I learned. So now this is regex, and now we have this neat little feature. Look, Ma, no AI. We've had this for ages. We can check whether a string matches a certain regex. So in this case, this is a regex that I can just read. So it needs like digits, 3 of them, a hyphen, digits, 4 of them. My example has 3 digits, hyphen, 3 digits. So not enough information to match the regex. If I add another digit, it says, hey, that matches. If I then add another digit, it no longer matches. Or if I add a letter instead of a digit, also it doesn't match. So that's a useful thing to work with regex. Otherwise, you can have AI Assistant explain the regex fragment to you, or use it on any kind of code to explain the code to you. It can also explain cron fragments and SQL and other stuff, which I find useful. So that's it for this demo. I wanted to show you very quickly, that's why I've been committing my code, that we should be able to who does interactive rebase on the command line? Yes? Who doesn't know what interactive rebase is? You're very brave. Okay, so interactive rebase means that you can rewrite Git history, which is very nice because, you know, you can write some ugly code, more ugly code, more ugly code, and then fix it up and be like, look how pretty. And so we can do that on the command line, and then you have to use VI, and the problem with that is, you know, how do you exit? But here we could either change the order of the commits. In this case, maybe not, because they might depend on each other. But if you have separate commits, you could change the order and then group them. And also we can squash, or I prefer fix up, because then everything is under the same commit message, which in this case is actually not what I want. I want to not fix this up. So I won't press start rebasing, but you can do, well, you know what, it doesn't matter, it's a demo branch. So we will interactively, and now everything is squashed in the same commit. So you can use this to rewrite your Git history before you push your code and just be like, it was always this pretty, what are you talking about? So that's one of my favorite features for Git integration. And finally, I want to show you the latest version, or the latest feature that we have been working on. I need to delete all of this for a quick second. So I'm going to go back to the first line that I started with that has a bunch of errors, because we've seen for completion that we have API completion and we have postfix completion, but we also now have command completion, which offers you relevant actions where you need them. And actually, if we want to filter this down to only the actions, we can type ... and that will give us the relevant actions. This is a beta feature. I'll show you how to turn it on in about 1:30. But I first want to show you why you want to turn that on. So I actually don't want this line. So remember, we had all of these things that we wanted to fix in this line. If we go over these options, it will highlight the relevant section of the line and show us a preview of what it will do. So we want to add this to the method signature and replace this with file name like we did before. Then we want to create the new array list like we did before of strings. And we want to assign that to a local variable, which we've seen several ways to do that. But if you don't remember the shortcuts for any of them, now you don't have to. So you can use that. I have created some live templates so that we could quickly write this code. So we can fix this and do all of the things that we've done before, but without actually needing to know the shortcuts. So if we have, for example, a new user. Yes, there is John again. It always goes with John. I don't know why. Very generic. So we can also use it to navigate. For example, go to declaration. We can use it to rename. Let's make this class, I don't know, person. Sure. So we can use this feature to unlock all of the functionality that we might not even know exists. And if you want to turn that on, we use Shift-Shift, search everywhere, look for command completion. That will take you to the right place in the settings where you can turn it on. It is a beta feature, so some actions might still be missing. Please let us know what you find is missing. Please let us know what you think. Please come to our booth to let us know what you think or if there are any questions that we can help you with. That's time for me. Thank you so much. You've been great.